Here is a look at your gap and go trades for the week of March 17th through the 21st. I will go over price targets on the 5-minute time frame, have a gap recap for March 10th through the 14th, and update the chart as well. Hi everyone, it's Dow on the Dow. First up is Sofi. We ended the week at $12.09, up 6.15%. This is where we are. To the north side, it takes us to one level of resistance and a potential take profit area at 1250. Above that, 1273, and at 4 standard deviations, roughly $12.95. I do not anticipate we get to this level on Monday, but if we do and we wick up to here, you can bet there will be a sell-off as people take their profits and they run. They will lock in and they will leave. Now to the south side takes us to roughly 1208. Change that color to purple. And below that, at -2 standard deviations and one level of support and a potential buy-in area, 1162 and a potential bounce area, 1138 and 1116. If we go sideways, we could go along this line or follow this middle of the trend right here. Now, as far as the gaps go, this gap opened up on Monday. It is still in play for the upcoming week, which will take us to 1257. Ignore all the other horizontal lines. This gap closed right there to the downside on Monday out of the gate, Monday, March 10th. That gap has been in play. Let's see if I can drag this. Wait a minute. Let me just undo something. There. All right, that touched right. Now, let me clean this up because I hit something that I shouldn't have. There we go. Now, moving this left. Wow, this has been in play since Wednesday, November 6th. Actually, let me clean that up. It got moved. Is that right? Oh, yeah, that is correct. So we gapped up. So I anticipate it to fill on the way down, and it took months and months and months, but it did. Wow, look at that, how we went all the way up and then all the way down to the other side. This will make sense if I flip this over to the daily time frame so you could see it, but I have so many tickers to go through that I really need to just concentrate on one ticker so you can see. But that is done. Delete. Let me hit Option R. And so that's done. This gap also touched. Again, I just drag it out. I have no idea when it's going to touch. And it did. Right there to the downside. I have a dog in my office right now. I'm dog sitting a 120-pound Borbal, and she's not very graceful, if you can hear her. But darn it, she's the cutest thing ever. I love her. Look at this. Let me just take this to the daily so you can see how far. What the heck? Now it really changed. No, I can't. Yeah, it's really, yeah, however you mark it, you need to see it on the same time frame as you marked it because it gets wonky. I already know that. All right, let me hit Option R to reset. But anyway, that appears to have touched, but when you make it larger, it did not. So that, however, is done. No longer a threat to our account. And this what is this? Let's just delete that. I don't know what happened. Now, this gap, we gapped up, which means it will fill to the downside. I have no idea when it will do that, and it did it right there on Thursday the 13th. This opened up on Wednesday, so it was a one-day gap. Still, you play it right, you can make some good money. Depends on how many shares or how many contracts you bought. All right. This gapped up, which means eventually I will anticipate it to fill to the downside, but I have no idea when it will do that. This is in play for this upcoming week until it closes out. And this gap is in play as to 1257, and this gap is in play also to 1340. And that could touch if we continue to go up on Wednesday, so the middle of the weekish. And this gap opened up on Tuesday, March 4th. I forgot to clean this, I forgot to clean this one up. So that touched right there on, also, so it was a one-day gap. We gapped down, so it fills to the upside, and it touched right there. What else is going on here? I'm upside down on some of my shares on Sofi, but I should be dollar cost averaging. All right, what else? I think that's it for now. And I also own some shares at 1070, which I could have sold out at 1842. Live and learn. You know, that's the thing. I am a long-term, basically, investor, so it's hard for me to sell. Easy for me to buy, hard to sell, and I need to get better at selling and just locking in profits and then just going on to the next trade, because my deep long-term investments are my ETFs. All right, let's move on. NEO, we ended the week at, oh wait, one thing I want to say about Sofi, and this goes with all of the tickers. When you look at this, here is the middle of the trend for the beginning week. At the end of the week, we could get to 1307 if we continue to climb. And the outer bands could take us to even 13, 14 bucks. The lower band here, 12.18. All right, now let's go to NEO. I know this looks like a hot mess, but I do know what I have marked out. And I have marked out $4.90, and that is up 3.59%. This is where we are. To the north side, this line, the red line, one level of resistance, many levels of resistance in between here. This takes us to an area we've already been, but we have started to tank. So that's 510, 525-ish, and 541-ish. Now the middle of the trend is now here, 479. The middle of the trend last week was here. So we've gone from here to here. So that's nice. That's an upward. Even though we're going down, that middle of the trend was right here, and now it is here. So we have actually climbed up. Even though, look at all this, we've been all over the place. All right, so to the south side, 448 to an area we've been to in 2024, 443. And back to an area we've been, 417. The purple lines are from 2025. The yellow lines are from 2024. All right, looking left. This was last week's period. From here to here, what happened? Well, we had this gap open up on Tuesday, and this gap is still in play to the downside, taking us to 448. This gap, now this gap closed. Again, I extended it right here from the week of this line, which is Monday the 3rd, and I forgot to clean that up. So this touched right there to the upside, so that is no longer in play. It touched on Monday the 10th, taking us up to 462. So that's done. That 462 was here. So I just cleaned that up. This gap, we gapped up, which means we gapped all the way down. So that's 448. and that one's still in play. And this one, and that touched right there on, was it Tuesday, the 11th? Taking us to 479. This gap right here, we gap down, so it means we fill up. So that touched right there. This is no longer in play. So that's done. And then what else? We have this gap taking us to 509, and that is still in play for the upcoming week. Then we have a gap, this gap, and that gap, a gap within a gap. This gap is taking us to 517. It's been in play for quite some time. Oh no, look, so sorry, it closed out right there. So that closed out on Tuesday the 11th. And when did it open? 517, I'm going to delete that. Oops, gosh darn it. 517, delete, because we've closed it out, delete. So that, oh my goodness, that opened up. Now it's wonky because I did something, but let me fix it. Let me turn on the magnet here so now I can get it a little bit more precisely drawn out. And is that right? Yeah. All right. So that was Tuesday, December 10th. This gap has been in place since Tuesday, December 10th, and it touched on March 11th. So congrats if you played that one. Wait a minute. 517, and then we have this 559. Did that one touch? I don't think so. Yeah, this gap is still in play to the upside. But, oh wait, we touched it. We touched it there, but it did not fill it. So that is something to look forward to get to the upside, but we're not there. All right, I think that is it for now. Again, flip this to the daily so you can see a bigger picture. But while I'm here, I'm just going to extend this out. And this one could touch to the downside at the end of the week, taking us to 413 possibly, because we're in a downward channel. I know it's hard to see all these lines, but delete the lines yourself if that's what you mark out. But I like to leave it there because I like to see where I've been and where I am headed. And then obviously if you flip this to the daily and you haven't cleaned things up, you can go on the daily time frame and do that. So we've got those gaps, this gap to 559. Oh, look at this one. I've got a gap that will take us to 624, and then we've got this gap. Anyway, I've got to go and clean this up in the bigger picture, but not today. Let's go to the 5 minute. As you can see, I've been tracking these stickers for what appears to be a very, very long time. Okay, 852 for Tsly, up 3.4%. To the north side, 890, 909, 929. The middle of the trend is now 852. Last week we were at 884. We've gone down slightly, even though this is showing that we're going up the overall trend. Now to the south side, 813, 795, 774. This gap is still in play. It looked like it touched, but it didn't upon closer examination. This gap is still in play. Yeah, Tsly got whipped around this week, along with Tesla. Nasty, nasty. All right, this one will take us to roughly 795. All right, so last week was from here to here. The highest we were was up here, taking us down to here, 747. All right, this gap is still in play, this opportunity to the upside. And then we have this gap taking us to 930 still in play. And fortunately, we're in an upward channel, so that's nice to see. Finally, a little reversal there for the spill we took. Okay, I'm upside down on some shares with Tsly as well. So, not panicked about it whatsoever. All right, and I think that's, at least we have no other gaps to the downside, I believe. I think I have covered them all. So the 52-week low is 742. That happened. 742, it happened right, 747. It happened this week, the 52-week low. So I think, oh man, I was so busy this week with company, and now I'm dog sitting, and I've been so busy that I meant to buy some and I did not, because I want a dollar cost average down, and I'm going to. I'll put in buy orders for this gap and see if I get it filled. All right, that is it for Tsly. For Estee Lauder, what happened here this week? We are at 66.52. Again, this is the period I'm checking out. This period to this period, we are in a downward slope still. We are up 2.56% on Friday. 66.91 is your target for Monday, 67.88 and 68.84. To the south side, middle of the trend, takes us right here. Oops, let's undo the magnet. 64.96. So if we're here, we could bounce off of that line or just go sideways or follow the line, the green line going down. 63.10, 62.16, 61.12. All right. March 13th, this gap closed to the downside at 65.15. Delete. And when did that open? That opened up on, out of the gate, on Monday, February the 15th. So this is no longer in play, no longer a threat to our count to the south side. Congrats if you made money going short, though. All right, that's closed, that's closed. What else do I see? All right. For now, this is it. This could touch on maybe Tuesday. I mean, we could go down. Well, no, not Tuesday. I'm going to say this is going to touch down here on, I'm going to predict this is going to touch on Monday. All right. But definitely, I feel like this is going to close by the end of, within, let's just say it this way. This is going to close probably within this week. It's within 2 and -2 standard deviations. That's easy. All right. This, oh, let me clean up this one. Oh, very good. This one touched and closed also, so it's no longer a threat. That took us down to roughly 68.14, delete, and that opened up on Wednesday, March 5th. We've got a tiny little gap. I'm not going to bother. That will eventually close. But right now we are in a downward channel for Estee Lauder. And then we have gaps to the upside whenever we retrace, but we are not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close. All right, the next one is Boeing. $161.81. is where we ended. Middle of the trend is now 163.73, 167.16, 168.68, and to an area we've been to in the past, 170.59. This, I'll talk about the gap in a second. To the south side, to an area we've been in 2024 that I marked out, 160.30-ish, 158.61, and 156.90. Looking left, this gap closed. Now out of the gate, this one opened and closed right there. That took us to 154. So we gapped down and then filled it to the upside. That gap, again, as I mentioned, closed. Sell off at resistance, resistance here, bounce at support, fell through, just grinding along this line. This is where price likes to rest, or before it makes its way. Obviously, it has to slice through here to get to the bottom, and then it slices through up here to get to the top. That's your basically conservative line. Okay, this gap has not touched. It is still in play, taking us to 163.12. And this gap takes us to 170.10. And that's the middle of the trend. Last week, where is the purple line? Or did I delete it? I may have deleted it because I use, when it gets in my way for the thumbnails or this or that and the other, I delete it. Okay, right here. I couldn't see it. It's right there. So last week, the middle of the trend was this purple line at 153.98. And now this week, we are right here. So you can see that's a steady upward trend, and you can see it along here. So last week, the low here, and then the high, that is a return of 11% in 1 week. If you had the guts to stay in that trade, ride it out, you got rewarded. But it is tough. All right, that's it for Boeing. Intel. Let's start with your price targets. Ignore all the horizontal lines. Those are for me. Okay, this is the middle of the trend line now. So we're at 24.05. The middle of the trend is right there. It's very close to an area we've been before. Let me, just because we're so close, this one I marked out on Monday, the 24th. I'm going to delete that because it's too close. I don't need all these lines, like I said. That just kind of gives me an eyeball. All right. An eyeball picture of, stat, where we are at. 26.65, that makes sense. 27.45, 28.23 to the south side. 23.51, 22.73, and 21.90 is your support. So what happened last week? Let's break it down. So we had this gap open up. This gap is still in play to the downside. This gap will take us to roughly 1991. This gap is still in play from February 10th. Let's extend it for the upcoming week. And this gap taking us to 29.04 is still in play, as well as this gap. This one is at least getting closer to closing at 27.35. We're finally making some gains again after we lost it all. All right, so that's still in play. Oh, and this one is still in play as well. That will take us down to roughly 20.73. We are in an upward channel, fortunately. All right, the next one is, come on, RIVN. 1075 is where we ended. To the north side, back to an area we've already been, 1105-ish, 1122, 1140. To the south side, 1069, 1033, 1016, and 998. What happened? A bounce here at support, sell off at resistance, a bounce at support, and then just hitting this area, falling back down. Clear sell off at resistance, and this closed last week out of the gate, touching right there at 1140, opened up on March 6th, closed out on Monday the 10th. Delete. Did I have this lined up right? Yeah. Well, it ends on Friday there. All right. And no new gaps for this week. And that gap previously closed out, and that one closed. All right, so we're looking forward to a gap taking us to 1292, but we are in a downward channel still, so that is not in the channel. Right now, -2 and 2. But this is where we are this week, and this is where we are, well, where we were the previous week. So that right here, from here to here, is a decline of 3.22%. But obviously, it's a lot more than that if you just look at it from wick to wick. That took us almost 10% down. But then if you were down this far and you held strong and you didn't sell out, we bounced right back up, and you could have gotten some back without being as much in the hole. All right, I think that is it for RIVN's gaps to the downside. Unilever, 58.71, 58.94, 59.19, 59.46-ish. The middle of the trend is now here. We could bounce off of that line or just grinding our way down, following this until it reverses. 57.92, 57.65, and back to an area we've been, 57.41. Looking left, you can see that we started here for the week and then made our way down, and we're still in a downward channel. So we gapped up out of the gate and touched right, let's clean up this one, right, I'm gonna make this just a little bit bigger. Right there, touched to the downside, March 11th, taking us to roughly 59.27. That opened up on Monday, the 10th, and closed out, what did I say, Tuesday. All right, so congrats if you made money off that move going to the south side. And this gap, we gapped up, and that gap is still in play. This gap takes us to 60.12. This one takes us to 61.61 all the way up. Now, what happened here? Let's clean this up. Oh wait, that touched right there on Thursday, taking us to 58.34. So that's no longer in play. That opened up on March 7th, and that is March 13th. All right. So that closed, and then what happened here? This one, oh, what was I doing? That one, oh, that's because it needs to be changed. The color needs to be changed. See, I could tell something was wrong. So we gapped down, and then it's going to fill on the way up. So this is in play, taking us to 59.04-ish. Okay. And then this gap is still in play for the upcoming week, taking us to 57.65. 74, and let's just move these along. Nothing to see here yet. Just extending it out, moving farther away from these upper price targets. Wah, wah. Terrible. Okay, come on, Unilever. We need you to turn around. All right. Oh, and what's going on here? We got a gap to the downside. Still in play. That one closed. What happened here? This one is still in play to the downside. Yeah, we were bleeding out because we gapped up. So now those gap ups are haunting us to the downside. All right. So look, all we did was go up to give it back to again. But sometimes you have to give it back to go back up again because the 1 year price target is 63.60. Oh yeah. Nope, we didn't touch there. Okay, that's, oh, and there's another one, not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close. Am I done? Oh, I got one more. I think I want to start picking up some more Nike to dollar cost average. Okay, 71.66, 72.15, 72.48, 72.83. But if you go woke, you go broke. That's what happened. Got crushed. You can't tick off your major base that buys your stuff. It just doesn't work out well for you. Okay, 71.48. You got a 70.78. Appeal to the masses. 70.44. 70.11. Otherwise, this is what happens. This gap closed. Look, this line acted as a support line and kind of bounced, but basically we're just going sideways. Okay, this line is too close to this line, so I'm going to delete it. I don't know when I marked that out. Oh, all the way here. That was the middle of the trend on January 13th. Let's just delete it. Like I said, too close. All right. Oh, but I need to clean this one up. So this one touched to the downside, taking us to 73.16, which was an anticipated move. Lower lows there. Okay, that touched right there on March 13th. That opened up on Tuesday, February 18th. So congrats if you went short and made some money there going to the south side. All right, I'm anticipating, I need this to bounce. Come on. Or maybe just go down to here and then bounce, let people get in. But the 52-week low is 68.62. My phone is ringing and I've got to go. So that will do it for me. That's a look at your gap and go trades for the week of March 17th through the 21st. Have a great trading week.